Hi, everyone. Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping so you can get the most out of your tapping practice and to eliminate self-sabotage so it's easier for you to take action. Before we jumped into the show today, I just wanted to thank all of you who have been sharing the podcast with your friends and your loved ones. I really appreciate it. Again, the goal is to get 9 new people tapping a day. As a community, if we got 9 new people tapping a day over the course of this calendar year, we would add over 3,000 new tappers. And if we have 3,000 new people in the world tapping in a regular way, their lives are going to be better and our lives are going to be better as well because they're going to be showing up healthily, and that is going to ripple outward and impact all of us. Now, looking at the stats, as I've been kind of tracking the growth of the show, I realized in this calendar year, no one in South Dakota has downloaded the podcast yet. Every other state in the United States has people listening to the show. So if you know someone in South Dakota who you think should be tapping, feel free to pass the podcast along to them. Just send them to tappingpodcast.com. And if you know anybody who should be tapping, even if they don't live in South Dakota, please pass the word along. At the website, we have over 170 hours of free tapping audio, interview, tap-alongs, all sorts of great stuff. Please spread the word. It will make a huge difference in their life, and it'll make a huge difference in all of our lives as the people around us continue to grow and be healthier. This is Gene Montrose, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 358, originally aired April 10th, 2019. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we're going to look at the question which I get a lot. If I tap on negative phrases, am I going to manifest negative things into my life? Before we answer that question and look at how we can use that to improve our tapping, I just want to remind you that we have a free 10-part guide that will show you how to use tapping to eliminate self-sabotage and to take action easier. All you need to do is go to tappingqanda.com, click on the big blue button at the top of the website, and you will get access to that free 10-part guide. We give you a new part every single day, so you're not overwhelmed with content, and you have little easy things that you can do every day to improve your tapping practice. Also, as you know, every single week we have been thanking all of the different countries around the world who have been downloading the podcast in this calendar year. Today, I want to thank all of those great listeners in the Czech Republic, Turkey, Jordan, Japan, Russia, and Costa Rica. Thank you for making the Tapping Q&A podcast a part of your day, and continue to share the podcast with your loved ones. I also want to thank Candace. Candace was the most recent supporter of the Tapping Q&A podcast. People who support the podcast get access to a lot of amazing extra bonuses, as well as that good, warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that you are contributing to something that's making a difference in the world. If you too would like to be a supporter of the podcast, all you need to do is go to tappingqanda.com/support. There's also a link in the show notes where you too can support the podcast so we can continue growing the podcast, doing more exciting different things with the show. tappingqanda.com/support. And thanks to all of our awesome supporters of the show. The question, if I focus on negative phrases, am I going to bring negative things into my life, comes up because of a factoid. Now, what a factoid is it is a piece of information that is presented over and over again as if it is true, even when it is not true. So the difference between a fact and a factoid is the reality of if it is true. Facts are true, factoids are not. And the factoid that is repeated over and over again in the transformational space and in the self-help community is the factoid that the subconscious mind does not hear the word not. And so the belief is if I say, I don't want to do something, my subconscious mind hears, I want to do something. And there is zero proof that this is the case. This is simply not true. And even if it was true, it's not, but even if it was true, there's this other problem that comes along with us making positive affirmations when there is resistance to that positive affirmation. And the problem is, or what appears to be a problem, is that if I say something that my subconscious mind does not believe, that my critical voice does not believe, that any resistance that I have does not believe, that negative sensation, that negative thought, that negative statement is going to be thought anyway. For example, if I said, I am going to lose 25 pounds this year, if there is a part of me that does not believe that is the case, the instant I say or think that affirmation, I am going to lose 25 pounds this year, that critical voice is going to pop up and say, no, you're not. You tried that before and you failed. You're going to fail again. Even if you lose weight, you're going to gain it back again. So even though I made a statement that is really super positive, it's a statement of intent of what I'm going to do and how great that's going to be, emotionally, I'm not actually going to feel positive about that because of the resistance that is there. But the reality is, as tappers, that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. We know that when we are tapping, what we want to do is we want to tune in and be as focused as possible, as specific as possible about the issue we are tapping on. And so, if you make a positive affirmation statement and you are tapping, and your critical voice states something that is opposite to that, you are now tuning into the resistance. You've failed before, you're going to fail again, and you happen to be tapping at the exact same time. And so with the critical voice, with our subconscious mind providing these negative counterpoints to the positive affirmations we've made, if we are tapping while those negative affirmations, those negative thoughts, those negative resistances are showing up, we're actually tapping on those things too. And so on some level, it doesn't really matter if you are saying positive phrases or negative phrases when you're tapping. What's important is you are making statements and phrases that are getting you to tune into the emotion and tune into the resistance. So how do we, as tappers, then take advantage of that? So the first thing that we can do is just make positive statements, and if negative stuff comes up, tap on it. That is a really easy way to be tapping on the resistance. The second thing that we can do, and for me, this is much more useful because it gives us a chance to go much deeper, is if I make a positive statement and the negative statement comes up, I'm going to lose 25 pounds. No, you're not. I then ask the resistance, that critical voice that has come up, what proof do you have that what I have said is not true and what you have said is true? So I'm asking the critical voice, what proof do you have that I am not going to lose 25 pounds? And as you know this, if you listen to the podcast for any amount of time, I'm a huge fan of having a piece of paper and a pen to take some notes. And so when I say, I'm going to do this and it comes back and it says, no, you're not. Well, what proof do you have? I'm going to start writing those pieces of proof down. I failed before. I've lost the weight before and it's come back. The people in my family have never been able to lose weight in a successful way. Whatever those pieces of proof are, now I have all of this extra data that as I am tapping, it gives me the opportunity to investigate those things and find the resistance and find the proof, find the moments from my past where I can do the movie technique or the storytelling technique or whatever tools I have in my tool belt to deal with past memories. But by making a positive statement, hearing the critical voice give me a negative statement, and then asking the critical voice what proof it has, now I have a bunch more data, which is going to make my tapping more successful. It's a question I ask my clients all the time when we bump into those things. Well, what proof do you have? Sometimes there's no proof. And simply naming no proof will eliminate some of the resistance. That's not always the case, but that can certainly be the case. Another way that we can use this is once we have recognized, and this is a really simple technique, once we have recognized that critical voice, which is saying it's not true, is to have a conversation or to have an argument between the positive and the negative. And so when I'm doing this, what I will do is I will do a round of tapping on the positive. I'm going to lose 25 pounds because it's going to be good for me. I'm motivated now in a way that I've never been before, whatever those phrases are. And so after I've done a round of tapping on the positive voice, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the negative voice the opportunity to speak as I tap. I've failed before, I'm going to fail again. My family isn't successful at this. I don't have the willpower. Whatever those things are. And so with each successive round, I am just bouncing back and forth between the positive and the negative, the positive and the negative. And as I do this, for me, I almost imagine as if it is two lawyers who are arguing a case in front of me. The positive is trying to convince me that the positive is true, and the negative is trying to convince me that the negative is true. And again, all this does is it gives us the ability to be more and more specific. And by imagining that they are lawyers that are trying to convince me of things, is that they're actually going to use the statements that the other side made and provide counter arguments to it. So if the negative side says, well, you failed in the past, you're going to fail again, the positive side can then say, yeah, but this time is different because I have a new tool set. I'm going to be tapping while I'm trying to lose weight. I've hired a coach who's going to help me while I'm trying to lose weight. Whatever those other pieces of proof are, but it gives me an opportunity to have this debate back and forth. So that's another way that we can utilize these negative phrases, is just turn it into a conversation or a debate and tap on that conversation and debate. The last thing to keep in mind is sometimes we have said something, a phrase, an affirmation, or something that is negative so many times, it no longer has an emotional charge to it. You know, I could be in a circumstance where I could say, it's never going to work out for me. I'm never going to be married. And because that is a belief that is negative, but it has existed for so long, it's just a statement of fact, and there's no negative charge to it. And so the negative phrase is not useful. It's the negative emotional charge and resistance that is useful. And so in a case like that, maybe stating the negative isn't useful at all because there's no longer a charge to it. But if I make a positive statement like, I'm going to find true love before the end of the calendar year, for whatever reason, making the positive statement might activate the negative in a way that simply stating the negative didn't, because it's now fighting against this thing that it knows, it believes not to be true. So when you are tapping on phrases, be them positive phrases, be them negative phrases, the phrases are not what is important. The words are not magic. They are just ways to help us to tune in. And so you need to pay attention to how you feel when you are saying those phrases. If there is no charge, try the opposite. If you're saying something negative and there is no charge, try the positive to see if the negative shows up. If saying the positive doesn't create any charge, then tune into all the negative aspects that are there and say those out loud. But what we want to do, what's important, is that we are experiencing some emotion and we're experiencing some resistance while we're tapping, because that's the place where we're really going to have progress and transformation and relief. Will tapping on negative phrases bring negative things into your life? No, because those negative thoughts are already running inside of your head. Instead, what we can do is we can use positive affirmations and the negative resistance that comes in counterbalance to that as powerful tools by using them in concert to eliminate the beliefs in our subconscious mind which are holding us back, that are simply not true, because we have an opportunity to tap on them. If you have a question like the one we talked about today, please let me know. Gene, Gene at tappingqa.com. Some of our very best shows have come from questions from listeners just like you. And when a topic like this comes up lots of times, it's a great thing for us to address in the podcast. And the truth is, there are people who have asked me a question where they're the only person in 10 years to ask the question that then becomes the perfect question for us to do this. So please reach out. If you happen to be listening on the website, all you need to do is click on that contact link up above. If you are listening inside of our app, we have an app for both Apple devices and Android devices that is absolutely free. Just click on the contact link. You can send me an email from inside the app. You can send me a voicemail from right inside the app. I love hearing from you in that way. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, go and do that. Go into your app store on whatever device you're listening to this on, because not only do you have access to our entire catalog of all of the podcasts that we've done, there are bonus podcasts that are only in the app. And if we do a tap along in a podcast, I include the typed out script in the app in the text section, so you can go back and tap along to any of those things without having to listen to the audio and search for the tap along, because the script is right there. As always, if you know someone in your life who could use this audio today, please be our ambassador. Pass it along. The Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli, Tapping Q&A 2016. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli or Tapping Q&A.